All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, look, in this one, I wanted to pose a simple question to you guys, right, regarding running back Le'Veon Bell. And it's interesting because I see, fans falling on either side of the fence here, and I can't wait to hop down below in the comment section and see where you guys actually stand on this. But when you take a look at the 2020 New York Jets team, it's been a complete disaster, right? It's early October and the majority of the fan base is already thinking about the offseason, right? What's going to happen with Sam Darnold? Who's going to be the new head coach? Are we going to spend money in free agency? If we get the number one pick, who are we going to take? Lawrence or Trevor Lawrence, or stick with Darnold? Trade down. The entire fan base is focused on the offseason. And when a fan base is focused on that this early into the season, when the team is 0-5, it's not looking good for the organization for that specific season, right? Obviously 2020, especially when you take a look at who the Jets have to play later on this year. We have the Patriots twice. We have the Buffalo Bills. I believe we have the LA Rams, the Seattle Seahawks. I think we play the Raiders and the Chiefs pretty soon. I know the Chiefs game's coming up pretty soon. It's going to be a long season, right? So it begs the question, at the trade deadline, should the New York Jets trade off their valuable pieces or, their better assets for draft capital, right? Guys like Jamison Crowder, guys like Le'Veon Bell. And when you take a look at Le'Veon Bell, I mean, he's interesting because this is a dude who I believe can come into a lot of teams out there, right? He can walk into a lot of locker rooms and provide an instant impact from day one. And the one thing that's always pissed off I feel like I could speak for a lot of Jets fans here, is that Bell was brought in. The primary focus of signing Le'Veon Bell, the purpose of bringing Le'Veon from Pittsburgh to New York, signing him to the 4-year, $50+ million contract 2 years ago, was to help develop Sam Darnold and to take pressure off of Darnold. Adam Gase has no clue how to use him. Le'Veon Bell is one of the most diverse and has so many different skill sets when it comes to the running back position. He's not just like a downhill runner and that's all he is. He's not some one-trick pony. He can literally line up outside and take snaps at wide receiver and go one-on-one against cornerbacks. He could run inside. He could run outside. He could run the Wildcat. He can, he's perfect in the pass catching game. He's literally like Adam Gase's dream when you look at just system fit. I mean, Adam Gase loved the short passing. All we see is Darnold throwing screens that go nowhere. They go nowhere every time. 3rd and 10, screen, loss of 1. Le'Veon Bell is amazing at catching these screens or being the little, the check down and turning a gain of 3 into a gain of 8 or a gain, a simple gain of 5 into a gain of 12. Le'Veon Bell excelled with doing those types of things in Pittsburgh. Granted, he dominated every year and the Steelers have a way better coach and a way better roster, but still, it's like the drop off was just, Bell kind of fell off a cliff, and it's not all Bell's fault, obviously. So, it sucks making this type of video because it's like, Bell was brought in again 2 years ago to help this offense just take off, and that was, he literally did the opposite, right? And it's not on Bell, it's on Gase. It's just they can't find ways to get him the football. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So there's a couple teams out there that I think would be a solid fit for Le'Veon. The Chargers, the Rams, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. But, all three of those teams have to make like cap room adjustments because Bell's on a pretty solid, a pretty big contract. Let's be honest. I think his cap hits like $15 million this season or something like that. And all those teams are around the $7 to $10 million, have $7 to $10 million in cap space. So if the Jets do in fact trade him at the deadline, it could be beneficial to get like a mid-round pick or something like that. Because I don't see the Jets definitely not getting a first-round pick. Probably not a second. I could see somewhere in the range of a 3rd to a 4th for a playoff team, right? Like a team like, again, the LA Rams, if Cam Akers is still dealing with a couple injuries or, is still having that nagging injury and they need like somebody to just come in and just, help out at that running back position, Bell would come in and immediately be RB1 for that Rams team. And I like Henderson a lot, but I think that would be a really, really good fit. They'd obviously have to work some things with the cap. But then there's the other side of the coin, right? And of course you can make the argument for, again, Pittsburgh, Chargers, they would be solid fits as well. But I see the LA Rams being probably the most willing to pull the trigger because of, Snead and McVay and just their willingness to acquire big name players just midway through the year, just, Brandon Cooks and Jalen Ramsey and signing Sammy Watkins and all these different things. They are not afraid to pull the trigger. Dante Fowler's another guy as well. So I look for the Rams if they want to mess around with the cap, but there's the other side of the coin where the Jets do in fact keep Bell because we have the money to pay for him, and there's a lot of fans screaming. All we have to do is just get Gase out of the building. All we need is an average head coach, and Bell's numbers will skyrocket up. They'll shoot up. It doesn't take an offensive brilliant mind to utilize Le'Veon Bell and get him going. Getting Bell the football is not a difficult task. I don't know why it's so difficult for this current Jets offensive staff to do it. I mean, I feel like since Bell brought in, there's been this weird vendetta, like Gase just does not want Bell, he doesn't like Bell, so he's just not going to get him the football. I don't know, it's just weird. It doesn't make any sense to me at all, especially considering how bad the offense is. We can't just scrap what we're doing and just say, hey, you know what, let's just give the football to the best player on the offense. It doesn't make any sense. So we could keep Bell, and this guy's numbers could go up, and he could return back to his superstar form because, let me assure you, he was a superstar with the Pittsburgh Steelers. All we would need is just a different head coach, just a guy with some sense on the offensive side of the football. So you can make that argument, right? You can make that argument. And hey, if the Jets want to stick with Darnold, if they want to go ahead and draft a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance or move on at the end of the season, you also have the argument in your back pocket where you're saying, hey, what better piece, what better offensive weapon to have for a young quarterback, a young rookie quarterback coming into, let's face it, a dumpster fire team right now, than Le'Veon Bell. I mean, his production is off the charts, or was in Pittsburgh. So it's an interesting argument. It's an interesting debate when you go back and forth. You look at both sides because, again, if you do lean more towards the trading him side, I do feel like the Jets need as many draft picks as possible to kind of reload this team because there's just holes all over the roster with outside linebacker and offensive line still is an issue, and wide receivers a big one. Cornerbacks as well. It's the Jets have a lot of things that they need to figure out, holes that they need to address, vacancies that they need to fill as we go into free agency and then the draft. So I would say right now, even though it kills me to say it, I'm leaning more towards trading Le'Veon Bell because I just want the extra draft capital. And remember, we did trade Jamal Adams away, so we do have the 2 first-round picks this year. I don't mean for this to sound like negative, but chances are we're gonna have really high second-round picks and really high second-round pick and a really high third-round pick as well because the Jets are so bad this year. So we could be looking at the first pick in every round. Coming up this April. So we'll see. So I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on where you stand. Would you rather trade Bell? Would you rather keep Bell? And let me know your thoughts. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and go Jets.